I believe that I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's close enough to 5 o'clock and we have a quorum and John has said he wouldn't be here. So we have everybody. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda for this meeting. We need a motion to approve the agenda or suggestions. A motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is public discussion and Jason, I understand. Oh, Jason's not here. I overheard him say Jason was gonna.
I think Jason was going to introduce.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you
I think it makes sense to do that in public discussion
Oh,
because then we're gonna close the meeting. So,
I do too.
okay.
You're up, Jason.
Welcome to the party.
Hi, welcome. This is Claire, everybody.
Great.
So that's
Grace.
Oh, great.
Great.
I said Claire.
You did say.
All right.
Grace.
You're looking, it's fine.
Should we all do introductions? So since this is public discussion time, perhaps you'd like to just say something about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Grace. I'm a senior at the University of Iowa studying social work. This is my last semester, so I'm doing my practicum with a university grant funded project called Social Workers in Eastern Iowa Libraries, and this is one of my libraries. So I'm going to be hanging out here, kind of doing some research, kind of doing some hands-on stuff just to see what social work integration could look like in public libraries.
Welcome. We heard about this last month's meeting, but we were all very excited about it.
Yeah, that's right. Last month, we had talked about Zach as well, the graduate student being here, and he's now just being focused in a couple of other libraries, so. We have Grace. Only Grace, but Grace is more than.
Hi, Grace. Well, we got Claire too.
idea about social work, but welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grace.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Grace? All right. I think at this point, the next thing on the agenda is the director's evaluation. And now last year, the committee had a script all worked out for what they were going to say. I did look at the stuff this morning. I don't have a script, but you do?
We got it. Yep.
Okay, good. I'll be quiet.
So I guess if this is the point where Ellsworth, you would need to request a closed session for your review.
I'd like to request a closed session for the evaluation.
I move we adjourn to executive session pursuant to section 21.51I of the Iowa Code to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury, that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. They're now going to move to a closed executive session so we can start.
I have a question. I was looking at I think it was the League of Cities, and it said something about do you have to have a roll call vote? Everybody has to vote to go into
Right.
executive, into closed session. And we need 2/3. So here we go.
So President Kirk.
All in favor of the motion to go into closed session?
I think you got to ask each of us to.
Do you want me to say
our name when we say our vote.
Yeah.
Oh, we speak you. Okay.
Carol Kirsch, yes.
Claire Matthews, yes.
Tom Rockland, yes. DJ Jonk, yes.
Dan Stevenson, yes.
Hannah Schultz, yes.
Robin Petzold, yes.
Joseph Massa, yes.
Okay, the motion was carried.
Charlie. We got a lot of black chairs, okay?
Close session. I did the closed session.
Okay, you're back.
About which part? Counties.
Points, but the rest of it maybe 3% better. That's pretty good.
Okay, so we are back in open session and I'm gonna let the committee lead the next part of the,
Then our first motion, let's see. I'm going to put forward a motion to vote in favor of a salary increase for Ellsworth of 3%.
Second.
Okay. So
We don't know if this is a roll call or not.
I would say the CYA, let's just do a roll call.
okay,
Yeah.
Carol Kirsch, yes.
Claire Matthews, yes.
I'm not gonna. BJ Junk, yes.
Dan Stevenson, yes.
Hannah Schultz, yes.
Robin Petzold, yes.
Joseph Massa, yes.
Okay.
It's helping Joseph learn all our names.
That's
All right. The next item on the agenda does require board action to set the calendar for the next fiscal year, and this is the calendar for library hours of operation.
Do you need to approve the, or does the salary do that?
Oh. I don't see any mention of approving the review.
No, I don't.
Yeah, but I wonder if we did that over those questions. Okay, moving on.
I'm okay.
If there's a question, we have a recording.
And I don't have a problem with the calendar at all, but is one in-service day enough? Is that all you're allowed? Do you get to have more? Is one enough? I don't know. I came from public libraries where we had once a month in service or a half day once a month. And so I'm just curious if one a year is working towards is enough for you. That's your decision, not mine.
I think it's tricky. So history here says that it's done one day, one full day a year. We've talked about advantages of doing 2 half days or of looking at more. I think that the one day really hinges on desire to be open to the public as much as possible. As
Sure.
people who've been here longer might remember other conversation, but that's my guess. I think doing 2 a year, especially during years of big changes, might be really beneficial. But knowing that there might be an openness to that change, I think we can certainly talk about what it might look like. And I'd also kind of be interested in benchmarking a little bit with other libraries, but that's a good question.
Well, I do think that my observation of your in-service days, a tremendous amount of work goes into it. So that would be, to me, another consideration, a lot of work and a fair amount of expense with meals and things like that. So I think that would be a consideration.
What I think too would give us the opportunity to do to knock out some of the more procedural training. So instead of trying to fit half a day of more head up and half a day of more like, we have to do fire extinguisher training to every year or whatever it might be. It might allow us to split those a little bit.
Okay. Any other discussion about the calendar?
And this was, I did speak with Terry Byers, so just to make sure that there were no union concerns about this, and she gave it the thumbs up.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the calendars set forth in the packet?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Did we all raise our hands before going on Zoom, or is this?
That's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. They really are associated now, yeah.
Trained dogs, we're all trained dogs. Okay. The next thing in the packet is the director's report.
only really one thing to add, I talked about the parking changes that was approved at the council meeting as expected. No conversation that I've heard about, so that should be nice to get it back. And we did save the signs, so it'll just be a matter of facilities changing out. And I've requested, I gave a little behavior update. We're very pleased to see that peak sort of re-norming to a moderate level.
Great.
Otherwise, any questions?
The legislative update, I guess is separate from the sort of introduced in the director's report. So that is the next item on the agenda.
So there are a number of proposed bills, proposed legislation that we are watching really carefully, that we're feeling very concerned about. And right now, what we're trying to do is make sure that we have the best understanding of these that we can by reaching out to city legal, the law library, the state library, doing careful reviews of the text. Anna is becoming an expert in the language that's used there. And you'll see that in the packet, we included sort of summary statements that that Anne wrote about 126 and 221 and 1145. So those, if people want to go through some of the more content pieces of that, I think we've got a few people in the room who can sort of lead that and answer questions. There is an additional piece that was not on our radar when we created the packet, and that is Senate File 365, which is focused on property tax reform. This is a bill that specifically strikes a special library levy. And there are some concessions for a scripted, you could put the levy on top of the levy cap, but go down a certain percentage every year. Any way you cut it, it would be a very negative thing for public libraries that rely on library levy funding, which ours, we have the full library levy amount. So right now for this one, for the property tax reform, we're sort of checking, understanding with our stakeholders that might be able to assist. And we will prepare a summary document that we send out similar to what was in the packet for the others. We should have that ready by sometime next week. I think the amount of legislation on the table that is targeting libraries is significant and scary. And again, there are threats to the access to materials, the governance and oversight, and now local library funding through the levy conversation. So those are huge parts of how we operate. I think that there is so much to be said about each of these parts. I think that sort of our librarian parts want to look at the access to materials pieces. That feels like such a huge assault to everything that we work for. Also, logistically, implementing any of the restrictions that are being proposed would take huge amounts of people power and sort of specialized people power. We wouldn't be able to simply say, oh, here's the roped off section of the collection. This would be changing material records, borrower records, all kinds of policy and agreements that we have. And that's hugely concerning. But the other side of it, that sort of less flashy, where does the state library report and how is that governed? And then the tax reform conversation, those are sort of the other side of the iceberg, I guess. It's like, those are also so critical to the operations of a public library that it almost feels like it's hard to know where to start. But Anne and Sam and other quarters have been working hard to to make sure that we understand what we're working with. We have some action steps that we can take, and that we'll be ready to take action when there's an appropriate action to take. But, Anne, you want to add anything?
Wasn't there a vote today at 1 o'clock? What was, what
We had a
was
subcommittee hearing to talk about the Senate Subcommittee 1145 bill, which would essentially allow a system to be developed where the book was banned in one school district. A restrictive list would be developed and it would therefore then be put in restrictive access at all schools.
That's what I was thinking, that, do we know what?
So the Iowa Library Association sent Michelle Cruz, who was the school library association president, is now the board member. She spoke with our ethics and principles and how the logistics of that are just untenable. And we would need to have better definitions of what exactly constitutes a ban versus a challenge, but also the fact that an opt-in restrictive list is still soft banning of books. And it removes the individual and parental oversight jurisdiction, which is what the reconsideration process is enabled us to do. The subcommittee recommended amendments. We were talking about a couple of other bills at the same time. So I'm going to talk with Michelle tonight to find out what those recommendations were, but then they did suggest that it go forward.
Oh, okay.
So
That's what I was wondering.
And something important, if you haven't looked at the actual text of these yet, they are packaged very carefully around, grooming children for negative behaviors or keeping children safe from visually explicit acts and things that any rational person would say, of course we want to do that, and libraries should do everything they can to support that. But as you dig into that language and you start to sort of unfold what they're saying, there's some clear focus on anything LGBTQ related, anything related to lived experience outside of white people. I mean, the targets are there if you look for them. And that's I think part of the scary part is you could easily cover this in a news story, making it seem like each piece of this is logical and beneficial to a community. And there's much more to it.
To me, the scariest one is the reorganization thing, because I used to work for state government and I was a victim of the Department of Administrative Services putting in a new rule that, oh, by the way, if you're this kind of person and this kind of person, then you're, an at-will person, and they could just do that. So that to me is a really, that's really big.
I think with the changing of who oversees the state library, the state librarian, and they having control over accreditation standards, some of those bills that they are putting forward that would have restrictions on materials may directly tie to accreditation as well. So we could be looking at a time where we focus on our professional ethics, like do we adhere to those or do we lose accreditation?
And with the loss of some of the checks and balances that are built into the current governance of the state library, that loss of accreditation could mean significant things.
so Carol, you know better than I, but what we're being told by lobbyists now is that there will be a phase 2 of the reorganization bill, and that the voices of the community, those who have served on commissions, those who directly understand the accreditation status, this is the time for them to inform this group, because it's so like just the state library by itself is so it's huge. So unless those voices are shared, there's no way they can actually wrap their heads around all of this at the same time.
That's a lot.
Perhaps they shouldn't be voting on it in the first place if they're not ignorant.
Well, from outside libraries, all we do is check out books.
Yeah.
That's really
Again,
about
for
it.
any of these groups, though, or any of these groups trying to reach out to the more conservative members of the state legislature to reason with them. It's not going to work, ladies and gentlemen, if we just say, I'm right and you're wrong. Because they will close ranks
To answer that, as a Republican president for the ILA Association and a Republican representative on the Commission of Libraries, I've been speaking specifically to Republican factions. We also have a Republican lobbyist and a liberal lobbyist trying to do that work, but again, I'm being urged that citizen voices are the ones that are hearing in these discussions. Councils, boards, supervisors.
Yeah, and there's some very organized citizen activity going on around, especially the material access piece of this. Moms for Liberty is a big one, and we're seeing some action in Iowa. Another group that seems to be gaining traction is Gays Against Groomers, and I think that what the intentional work being done here is to find representation from all across the spectrum so that people can speak to their groups, so that you can say, hey, I'm of the community, and this is why this is a damaging thing, and this is why we should restrict access. And I would say that it's unbalanced right now, that the conservative side of the issue has much more organized thrust to it than the side sort of arguing for more unfettered access and more parental or adult caregiver control, which is interesting. And we know that that's being done at the state level in Iowa. Those groups are really actively working with the legislators.
So I'd like to talk about your recommended action steps, how we can actually strategize that still. And how the board wants to approach this. If we're leaving this to the individuals, or if we want to take quick action on this.
I think the board statement is appropriate.
I agree.
So then, do we want to get a committee together to draft it like we did last time and start working on these? Because our timelines here are immediate.
Right. That indeed is the challenge.
I think a statement that would have some flexibility of being able to sort of apply it in different places as things move forward.
A very short turnaround time on it, though.
I think some of the work that Anne has done in writing the summary statements would be a good, there's a strong sort of base for that, and we'd be happy to support that work as much as we could too.
I mean, we could have I can't remember now, can we have a special meeting by Zoom? Oh, that's
approve a statement.
right. I think that's the one where our city attorney thinks not.
I think.
And the League of Cities thinks yes, but city attorney. Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind coming in for a quick special meeting to approve a statement.
I'd be open to that.
Because I don't think we can wait a month to do that.
Is anyone interested in serving on a committee to write the statement?
Can I
TJ?
first ask, does ILA have some talking points put together that would be useful for that?
Trying to decide what I can share. I have personally come out and done this, and I'm asking my networks too, but ILA is reluctant to do so because, like Sarah Walford at the Department of the Blind, we're not quite sure if the state librarian survives it. However, I feel like the greater goal is Iowa libraries, and that we really can't decide where the chips fall. We can only speak for Iowa libraries. So we have talking points I've created, but probably not else from ILA.
I'm just trying to figure out texts that we can start.
Well, there might be some from the reports that you guys said, the call to actions that I get as I'm a member, but the board may not necessarily get those. And of course, I've deleted mine, but and trying to clean my email box. I think we have things, but that might be some good start. The call to action has some language in there that would be useful.
The two real quick.
Yeah, if you would send it again, because I of course deleted it.
And as Ellsworth says, I mean, Anne's report has a lot of.
Yeah. There's actually like
stuff in
whole
it.
sentences I would use from Anne. Thanks, Anne.
And I feel like this is an opportunity to really put something together that is accessible to a general reader. So much of the work around this is done in what I think is an intentionally exclusionary way. If you're not able to navigate sort of a legal document or a process
Right.
document, it becomes really difficult. And I think this group did a great job with the previous intellectual freedom statement, sort of keeping it at a high level, but in a way that a general reader could understand.
I was on the other one, I'd be willing to be on this one as
Okay,
well.
that's two. Were you on the other one too, DJ?
Yeah.
I don't remember was there a third person?
I think I found it.
I think it was you, Robin. I think it was Robin. I don't know does it have to be three?
It doesn't have to be three.
Because it might be, two might be enough to get the draft.
To get the draft.
To get it put together and then, anyone then could have review commentary on it. Does that sound okay?
Okay, so if we have a special meeting to approve the document, what are the constraints? How much notice do we need to give?
24-hour.
24 hours,
public
okay.
notice. We obviously err far on the
Okay.
generous side of that for regular meetings, but this, right, Jen, 24 hours would be
Mhm.
for this one. And we would post it here and we could do an electronic posting, fulfill.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you to both of you.
Can we put timelines on it?
Yeah.
What the expectations are?
Like, are we gonna have a public meeting next week? What's the goal?
Maybe we should give them a chance to talk to each other, because Claire needs to.
Yeah,
leave.
I'm not, yeah, I do have to head out, but I'm not sure if I could do 1 week. I could maybe
So-
do like later.
Advocacy day again,
March 7th, which means you
10 days away or so. It'd be nice to have.
Oh, you're right,
have it
you're right, you're
for
right.
that.
Would be. So, okay,
to have it posted by the 6th.
We can do
so
some
that
crunch-
can go on
crunch
the
time.
advocacy day.
So we could carry it.
sounds good to me. Maybe we could
So
get
should
next
we
week.
send out a meeting though to before the 7th?
Yeah,
We could.
Because you also want to have a meeting to prove it.
I'm sorry, I have to run. But,
Anne has the time for everyone to work with Anne on this.
Yeah. I
Very
think that'd be
diverse.
great. If-
yeah, and
Yeah,
if
if
you're
you-
willing,
Almost, yeah, include it.
Our Thursday night. Thursdays at this time generally available. We could just say next Thursday night. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm very flexible.
I could
Uh,
Tuesday on the web, so I can't even do it for sure.
Thursday, the second we're looking at.
But that's, I just do that out because Thursdays are normal.
Yeah, it's not
It generally
great for me.
I mean, it's gonna be like a 90-second meeting probably.
Yeah.
Right,
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 right.
very short. We have to have a quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can do it on Thursday, the second. If we got it for 5 minutes.
okay.
70 seconds, I could do it. It's like a marriage.
Thanks.
Good luck on the run. Yeah,
And if we have a quorum,
You want meeting.
but
I mean.
email.
Can we talk about
5 o'clock.
5:30, I have. And I don't need to be here if we have a quorum, but I have my son's conference till 5:05 that I'd like to be at.
Or you want to do that on this?
Oh, it's conferences
Day of
next
that
Thursday,
meeting.
isn't it? The second. Ooh, then
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna
it's
have
gonna be
to, like
very
with that
quickly.
as
Yeah.
well as I might have
It's
to
gonna
be
be
there
before people
for
realize.
hours.
I have a conference till 5:30 too.
I just want to remind people that the
So maybe
advocacy
when,
the advocacy
maybe
meeting in Des Moines is on the
there's.
7th.
We could
So
look.
if we're talking about 2 people
farther
going
out.
up, it's gonna be here.
We could, I mean, I don't know if Friday is a terrible ordeal.
The 8th.
Thanks,
or
Claire.
I
the.
was thinking.
Third, Friday, the
Much better
third,
than obviously.
I'll be out of town, but
be negotiating with my school board
That
Hmm.
sounds
I'd have to,
It's much
Friday
better.
night.
I'd have to, I mean, only a little morning, but you don't really.
Planning board, usually we don't.
Yeah, because you don't need any of us individually. If you just need to get to quorum.
right. That's. I just need to get-
That's true if, if we can get
Oh,
it
you all see it in advance.
Thursday.
Except we can't discuss it in advance, as a group,
That's okay.
because it would break open meetings laws,
No, but we can each provide comments to the.
right, during from the group, right? So on the
Claire is not
7th,
available on the second. Right? Didn't she just say that?
She would not be.
She would
I
not,
mean, but if the question is simply proving it,
right?
We'll get 5 people on the second is the question, so.
I mean, really, Monday, the 6th would be, I mean, that'd be very close, but it would be a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think the closeness matters really. right? 'Cause
I'm going to get together and probably right here.
Monday, the 6th at 5 or 5:30, how many people could do that?
I teach them.
I think though that that's a better option than the second because she has expressed
Right.
a concern about getting it done with, as quickly as
I teach on campus if I could do it earlier, if there's possibility, but not at that time.
I can make that work on Monday.
Why don't we just sit down a couple of days and see if we can get quorum for any of them, someone set out a meeting planner and just.
Yeah.
So you need.
Yeah, because John's not here.
right.
But is there something John can do for us?
I'm gonna be off this week, but I can figure out.
We could talk about tomorrow, and then I could take the.
Just send out a
Yeah.
couple of days, see which ones we're for.
Which one gets a quorum, yeah.
Okay.
Can I go back and so it's when we have a discussion also for the advocacy day being the day after. We can make sure that's included in the conversation. If anyone's gonna be going up, just.
Okay.
And does that advocacy day have to be done in person or can it also be done through phone calls or at distance?
Great question. So while we did have lobby from home at every connection point person.
Yeah, right. There's something like if we find out. We can't get people up there, if there's a backup plan.
Definitely, exactly what we would do is have like DMS send you out the language you want from us, and we also have district maps if you. Decide you need some help with like contact points of folks in the outskirts.
If you know of a few people in the region going,
So far, I know that like
there's just not a bunch of individuals having up.
U of I folks are going, yeah, I got a full car full of.
Yeah. Right, we get a second. Okay.
Sam, is there some kind of training or something? So if I'm gonna go.
Great question. So typically that would happen at the state library. We would have used the hallway underneath the street.
Yeah.
Can't happen this year. So Bond Dragger actually recorded me giving our agenda points. You can watch that
Okay.
video, you can read it, but then if you come a little early, like 11:30, I'm gonna be making myself available in the law library to talk folks through that. Because we break you off by district.
And so. So do you send people to their own district or nearby districts? Their own district?
So we definitely know Allison at Coral will be there and so we probably kind of hanging out in the same area with her, talking to legislators about this matters.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean, real honestly, our districts aren't the problem.
Right.
that's why.
And also aren't listening to.
Not to wax poetic and waste our time, but that's why I created a presidential task force, because we need to start focusing on those areas that don't have the representation to get folks there and to let them know their citizens will be there. So
Right,
honestly, if we do create a caravan situation, I might try to recruit some folks at different sides of the wildlife.
all right, okay.
I think this is a big issue and we shouldn't let it slide.
So we at least have 4 people from the University of Iowa going with us for that.
More on this?
I think beyond these fair attacks on libraries. I'm sure everyone in this room has already thought about this, but. The attacks on the social safety net are also going to hit libraries pretty hard. And some of these laws are gonna. And so I think we just need to be prepared for what that means for the work of our library.
Good point.
Well, everybody's glum.
I'm gonna need a drink.
Okay, let's move on.
That people are noticing it.
Yeah.
So it's not long.
Well, the departmental reports are more uplifting, so
Yes, that's a good.
she is not here, so you can't direct questions to her. But seems they've been very busy. I was curious as to how we hooked up with Moline in a joint effort. I thought that was interesting
For,
for the Lunar New Year
oh,
program.
I was in the media, I think.
Yeah, it was in the meeting.
They had been historically doing programs. I shouldn't talk about it, but I feel like, because I don't actually know the answer to that, but I do feel like that they already had an active group celebrating and had seen our
Oh, okay.
celebration or bringing care.
Okay,
Just wanted to thank Katie. These are clearly written reports and I appreciate it. It's new. I mean, I know you're a new person, you're going to format it, but it's going to help with it.
I can't believe you've only been here 90 days.
Yeah, that's weird.
I've really settled in, like, these guys have all done a really good job. Getting me on board.
comments for the collection services report? The IT report?
Really appreciate the connectivity that says everything, doesn't it?
Okay. Katie's report. Quiet here. Right, the news articles. I think they're always interesting. I don't know who comes up with the comics and the extra stuff that goes with the comics, but I think it's really. Is that, she does it? Okay. Those recipes and stuff. How does she think those are? Some of them sound kind of awful, but. Anyway. Okay. Moving on then to the president's report, I really don't have much of a report, but I am appointing a committee to nominate officers for next fiscal year, starting July 1st. And John and Robin and I will be that committee. And I think we're going to meet towards the end of March. Well, if so, please, if you want to nominate someone or self-nominate somebody, do let one of the three of us know. Announcements from members. Got any announcements? No?
I said bring on spring.
Yeah, it got really cold.
Yeah.
But we really dodged a bullet yesterday.
No doubt.
Let's see, committee reports. Is there a committee foundation?
See, we had a foundation meeting. I'm trying to think if we have anything to report out from the team.
Well, the main talking point was the same report, but I put in this, just, a summary of kind of my 6 minutes that state the organization in the direction I think it should go. And I'm happy to say that our board went around and said, we agree with you, we're excited, we support you in this. And so now I'm writing a business plan for the organization, and based off of that I've already been working on in anticipation that they would with the direction that I was wanting to keep organization in. So and now really just assessing kind of what exactly some of those the investments are that we need to do. Digging into proposals from CRMs and so it's exciting. We're at I think a wonderful place of opportunity and growth for the organization.
Great. Communications, I don't, if there were any. Next is to approve the consent agenda, the minutes from last month's meeting, and also the disbursements for January 2023. Is there a motion to? First of all, are there
Is there discussion?
conversation? No discussion. No discussion.
I would move.
Second. All right. On favor?
Andrew, now I'm self-conscious about it.
Throwing it up there.
Can I just ask one question about the disbursements? I mean, I would still vote to, but it's towards the end where it says under library adult materials, gift books. What is that?
So are we?
40.
This.
That's just referring to the account that is being from, which is literally called the.
Oh, okay.
So we do get from the Friends Foundation, we'll get gift money. They
Okay.
Purchase specific books
Specific, okay.
or a specific topic.
I either haven't seen that before or I haven't been paying
We're getting a
attention.
lot more.
Oh, well, that's good.
There's been a lot of memorial getting formed recently, with book clubs, some of the rules will pass. And you read the will say. Their favorite author. All of the books.
Okay. All right. In that case, the next thing on the agenda is to set the agenda for the March meeting. Which it looks like it's too much on it right now. We do have a policy review and 2 departmental reports. Didn't we talk about adding? Oh, is that the policy we added? A couple months
I
ago,
think
we
I
added
think we
something to
moved
the
it
March.
to-
Okay, all right. Does that need to be voted on? It does, okay. So I need a motion to approve the agenda for the March 23rd, 2023 meeting.
Move.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those seconds come fast at the end of the meeting.
Unless you're on Zoom and they don't come, then everybody's dropping. Okay, all right. In that case, I think we will adjourn.